Suppose we have to answer the following question. We wish to determine the probability of a value between 2.4 and 5.7 under an F distribution with 4 degrees of freedom for the numerator and 5 degrees of freedom for the denominator. We also wish to see a picture of this to in order to size up our window. X-min will be 0, and that's because the F distribution is a ratio of standard deviations, so the curve will be confined to the first quadrant. X-max will be 8. This is user discretion. Any value greater than the upper bound here would be okay.